The top business stories live from Sky News' headquarters. One of Tesla's earliest investors tells us that Elon Musk should step aside as chief executive unless he gives up his government job.
I think Tesla needs a new CEO, and I decided today I was going to start saying it, and so this is the first show that I'm saying it on. It's time for somebody to run Tesla.
The UK's newest EV brand from China that wants to be the Lidl of electric vehicles. Plus, the self-cooling can invented in Wales that the world's biggest drink companies are fighting over. A very good morning and welcome to Business Live. On this Wednesday with me, Darren McCaffrey, one of Tesla's earliest investors, has told Sky News that Elon Musk should step aside as the carmaker's chief executive unless he gives up his government job. Speaking to me yesterday, Ross Gerber said that Mr. Musk had lost his focus and was now too divisive. Elon Musk's political views, alongside that role in cutting federal government spending in the United States, has angered some of the public, both at home and abroad.
I'm one of the few people who've been involved with Tesla for over a decade now as an investor and as a user of the vehicles. And I consider myself somebody who knows the most about Tesla, one of the most knowledgeable people about the company. And one of the things that I'm sure of is when you're in the car selling business or the battery storage business, the way people view your brand is really, really crucial to the purchasing part of the purchasing process that humans use. We really identify with the cars we drive, especially in the United States. And so, when your brand gets tarnished like this, it's real bad. So when Elon bought Twitter, which goes back to 22, that's when we actually became concerned. And that's when the stock actually topped, was in November of 2021. And so when he bought Twitter in early 22, that's when we really became concerned because of his lack of focus, and tweeting, all this kind of garbage just really picked up in that period of time. So I had no idea at the time it would go this far. So this is worse than anybody could imagine, right?
Well, he's got X, he's got SpaceX, he's got Tesla, he's got his government job now as well. Is he simply trying to do too much? What's your advice to Elon Musk today?
Well, I think we all make choices with our time, and Elon doesn't get more than 24 hours a day just because he's Elon. So we make choices. All of us do. Do we spend time with our family? Do we go golfing? Do we work? And how we do this is, each individual chooses. And so Elon chooses to work, all the time, but you can only work so many hours a day. So it's 24, right? And he sleeps. So there's no question he's been committed to his job at the government. That's where he's spending his time. He is not running Tesla. And, that's why I'm going to say it. I think Tesla needs a new CEO. And I decided today I was going to start saying it. And so this is the first show that I'm saying it on. It's time for somebody to run Tesla. The business has been neglected for too long. There's too many important things Tesla is doing. So either Elon should come back to Tesla and be the CEO of Tesla and give up his other jobs, or he should focus on the government and keep doing what he's doing, but find a suitable CEO for Tesla.
So you are saying essentially if he's not prepared to quit that government job, he needs to go? Yeah,
I think it's time.
Is there a personal animosity here? Some people might wonder whether there's a personal axe to grind from your point of view.
No, in fact, I would argue the opposite. I'm extremely grateful for Elon. He's made me extremely wealthy, and my firm has grown tremendously because of our investment in Tesla being so successful. It's probably one of the most successful trades of all time. We made over 100 times our money. And, so what am I going to do? What makes me sad is I care about climate change. I live in the Palisades, and I recently almost lost my house, and I live about a block or two from the disaster area, just on the way into work. I have to drive by it now every day. And I'm one of the only people living in the Palisades right now. And when you see climate change as close as I have right in my face, there's no thing more important for people to understand that we need to fight climate change, or we will all suffer greatly from its effects. And Tesla is an important company for this.
And just very, very finally, Ross, on this, effectively, if he doesn't change direction like you would like him to see, how toxic is this now? Effectively, how bad could it get? How low could the share price go, do you reckon?
Well, we use fundamental analysis in stocks. So you can compare the valuation to a stock like NVIDIA, which trades at 40 times earnings, and Tesla's expected earnings this year are $3, and that might even be in jeopardy. So that 40 times $3 is 120. So, the downside risk for Tesla is still substantial if it gets valued like all the other great tech companies in America. So the fact that Tesla has 2 times the value of even the greatest companies in America is still confounding to me with the turn that Elon's taken.
There you go. That was that interview earlier. Let's focus on Tesla, but also the wider US economy, because obviously Tesla's shares have been somewhat on a roller coaster ride over the last 6 months or so. But there has been a bit of a correction in the US market in recent days following the turmoil over Donald Trump's tariffs. Let's speak to Eric Hirsch. He is co-chief executive of the investors of Hamilton Lane. Eric, very good morning to you. And it is interesting. I think Tesla's up a little bit after trading closed yesterday, but it's been down quite substantially since the start of the year. And that is part of a turbulent picture that we've seen, particularly in the US markets, really over the last month or so.
Good afternoon. Great to be back. We definitely are seeing quite a bit of turbulence. Tesla is just one example. But I think there's 2 things going on here in the markets. I think one is that the markets are trying to figure out how to price what is right now a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen from a governmental front and geopolitically. And secondly, I think investors are just beginning to take a much closer look at the fundamentals of companies. I'm a simple private markets person. I look at Tesla, I see a company that's going to have increasing competition. I see a company that is not benefiting right now from the build out in charging stations around the US. I see sales slumping, I see profit slumping, and I see a stock that to me looks incredibly expensive. But again, we're private markets people. And so one of the things we sort of run away from is some of the emotions of the public markets.
In saying that, talking about those emotions, I mean, emotions do drive consumer sentiment, don't they, to a degree, but they also drive investor sentiment too. I mean, do you think that there are people, other Tesla shareholders right now, who might well be looking at Elon Musk and thinking, actually, is this the best man to lead this company?
I think there's no question that there's an enormous amount of emotion in the public markets. There always have been. I think it's just getting more and more exacerbated. It's why you see a market that is tremendously volatile. And it's frankly one of the big reasons that if you look at the last 6 months, flows out of the public markets into the private markets, particularly for the retail investor, continue to accelerate. People are looking for something that is more long-term oriented, less emotional, less volatile. Here in the US, you're seeing all kinds of protests at Tesla stores and people graffitiing cars and people turning their cars in. And again, just a tremendous amount of emotion. But that's a very, very tough way to run a company.
It is indeed. And a lot of Americans, unlike actually here in the UK, are kind of retail investors, if you like. And yet Donald Trump has always used the stock market as a gauge of success in and out of office. That doesn't seem to be the case in this second term so far. What impact is that having that actually Donald Trump, of all people, doesn't seem as invested in the stock market as he has been and as people would expect him to have been?
So our perspective is it's too early to tell. I think you're absolutely right. In the first Trump administration, the stock market was a scorecard, and it was something that was closely analyzed and closely focused on, and it mattered to the administration. Now, we're a couple of months into this next administration, and I think certainly the first blush would say, well, they don't seem to be caring about the stock market. I think the question that investors really need to ask and focus on is, what time period is the administration focused on? Clearly, they're not focused on very, very short-term performance. They might be more likely focused on longer term. And so what do we expect to see over the next sort of 6-12 months? I think that's, again, causing uncertainty. But I think from our perspective, we're saying, hey, let's sit back and actually let's see what moves actually get made here that are going to impact the markets on a longer-term basis.
And just finally on that, we're looking at the US as a kind of macro economy. There's lots of talk about more tariffs coming at the start of next month. there have been some concerns about the stickiness of inflation and actually the impact tariffs could lead on that. Where are we outside of the market in terms of the US economy? Because there is also signs, again, of continued resilience. It's a real mixed picture at the moment, isn't it?
It is, and I think this goes back to my earlier comment, which is what time period are we focusing on? If I look at some of these, if these plans all get put in place on a longer term basis, I think what you're going to see is an incredibly strong job market in the US, a lot of reshoring, fixing up sort of trade imbalances, changing sort of fundamental government spending, changing the defense spending mechanism, and some of the inequality that we sort of see on a global basis around that. From a purely US economic standpoint, those are all very positive things long term. Short term, to get there could be bouncy and a little painful.
OK, Eric, really appreciate your time this morning in a delightfully looking Pennsylvania, as sunny as it is here in the UK. Thank you very much indeed. Eric there from Hamilton.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you. Now, the UK's newest electric vehicle brand is launching today. Leapmotor is a Chinese company which calls itself the Aldi or Lidl of the EV world, aiming to make electric vehicles affordable for the masses. The Vauxhall owner, Stellantis, has a 51% stake in the company and will sell 2 models in its UK showrooms. Let's speak to Damien Dalley. He's UK Director of Leapmotor and joins us now. Damien, very good morning to you. The Lidl or Aldi of the EV motor world.
Yeah, so Darren, I mean, basically, we're committed to delivering the best possible value to the customer. So we know that 1 in 2 people surveyed want to make that jump, want to take that leap to electric. We want to help them do it. So, and we know that they want to do it without the sacrifice of tech or spec or no compromise. So we're launching what we believe is the best value EV brand, combining the highest level of tech spec with a knockout price.
A knockout price, indeed. We're looking pictures of it. I mean, it's, I don't want to be rude here, it's a functional-looking car. Is that fair to say?
Well, the car you're looking at is the T03, so this is a city car. So this is priced at $15,995 and is very, very well specified. So it's a car to get you around the city. It's got a range of 165 miles, which for anyone who's doing an average of 25 a day is more than enough. So very practical, as you say, good height. And obviously 5 doors.
And I assume that your argument, Damien, is that up until now, one of the big barriers for lots of people trying to buy electric cars has just simply been that price point.
Yeah, I mean, price is the prohibiting factor. We know that people want to do it, but also I think it's a tough time to be a consumer. You know, there's a lot of choice out there. I think fundamentally people want to do the right thing. We know that buying electric's on people's mind, but the cost is an issue, so it's a barrier. Which is why we've added this latest brand. This is the 9th brand within the Stellantis stable. And our ownership has been, that's a real unique aspect. We're a joint venture, but 51% owned by Stellantis, which gives the consumer real peace of mind. Leapmotor may be a new brand. Hopefully it'll be well heard of in times to come, but everyone's heard of Vauxhall, Peugeot and Citroën, so we give that unique peace of mind at the same time.
Yeah, in saying that, and you talk about the collaboration, is the reason that you are focusing on the UK market is because, regulatory-wise, we've been quite relaxed about the Chinese electric vehicle market, unlike some of our European neighbours?
Yeah, I mean, currently, and an emphasis on currently, there are no tariffs on Chinese vehicles in the UK. So it's a really good opportunity. I think this is a good thing. And it's a good thing for the UK consumer. The UK government is encouraging us car manufacturers to move to electric. We've got quite stringent targets, so not having the tariffs is supportive. There is a shift to electric vehicles. I mean, last year was 17% mix. Up to the end of February, that's moved to nearly 23%. But our own internal targets set by the government is to be 28%, so we're quite way off that.
But Damien, one of the concerns that clearly other European countries have about that kind of influence from China, if you like, is on supply chains and, what they might get disrupted, we know, but also concerns clearly about privacy and data and the role that China might play. I mean, can you guarantee to customers that buy this car, for example, that their data won't be shared with the Chinese government, the Chinese state, about giving those guarantees to consumers that will be concerned?
I think there's 2 things. So first of all, We're part of Leapmotor International, which is outside of China. So Stellantis has a 51% shareholding. Obviously, we've been in the market for 130 years. We're very serious. We meet all the European legislations, all of the European legislations. And we're not the first Chinese brand either, let's be clear about it. Obviously, we're the first owned by a large organization like Stellantis. And, frankly speaking, and again, we're not the only piece of tech out there which is made in China. I mean, I'm sure we've all got devices in our pockets right now that are made in China, which we're worried about. But there's no apps. I can assure you there's no reason for consumers to be concerned.
OK, and just very finally on that, there's clearly the possibility of further tariffs being imposed on European car makers with the United States. I mean, do you now, as a company, view actually that relationship with China, or indeed with anyone else outside the United States, more important, given that uncertainty around tariffs, but also supply chains too, because, cars get manufactured, or bits of cars in different countries these days?
So Stellantis, our parent company, supports free trade. And, the car industry, we're working on products today, which we're going to launch in 2027, 2028. So what we really, really need as an industry is stability, particularly at this time, really, when obviously the industry is changing. We're moving, the whole dynamics of the industry are changing from a thermic engine to an electric. So we need that stability, and we really support that.
OK, Damien, appreciate your time this morning. That is Leapmotor, which should be hitting the British roads relatively soon. Damien Daly there from
Thank you.
Leapmotor. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
OK, watching Business Live here on Sky News. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, you will not want to miss this. The self-cooling can, which could be about to shake up the drinks industry. We'll be explaining all after this quick break. Stay tuned.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's Senior Ireland Correspondent.
It takes 60 minutes to cross the Irish Sea. It took the British monarchy a century.
I've spent 30 years reporting the journey from conflict to peace.
The political parties of Northern Ireland have reached agreement.
If there's anyone who might know how to fix Northern Ireland's devolved government, it's the American architect.
Changes in circumstance require changes in approach.
The end of the political stalemate, the start of a new chapter for Northern Ireland.
I confirm that I am willing to take up the office of First Minister. My election to the post of First Minister demonstrates the change that's happening on this island.
Catholics and Protestants on different sides, now facing the same threat.
If we both contract COVID-19 and end up in hospital, religion's nothing.
People here are adept at finding hope amid adversity. That's the spirit of a place that punches way above its weight.
We help you understand the world with us. A toxic blue-green algae now poisoning Lough Neagh. It's breaking your heart what has happened here.
It is.
This is a vital resource, a national treasure, now fighting for its very life. They are effectively surrounded by Northern Ireland, and that makes this the most unlikely of international frontiers.
If there's a hard border, I think it'll cripple the country.
Winter is coming. Welcome to Winterfell. It's an iconic location in this globally acclaimed drama.
Ophelia was the most powerful hurricane this far east in the Atlantic on record.
Sky News, the full story first.
Sky News, get the full story first.
Is this now all your territory?
Yeah. The battlefield is outside the barricades. We are in the middle of a forest, in a jungle really, and they're attempting to keep these men alive. I'm Stuart Ramsey, and I'm Sky's chief correspondent. It's really dangerous. Many people have died riding it.
It's like better. fly Emirates, fly better.
Now, welcome back to Business Live here on Sky News. We have all been there, well, most of us at least anyway. You take a sip from your can to discover the drink has gone from refreshingly cold to disappointingly lukewarm. And it is going to stop warming up from tomorrow, isn't it? Well, it's an issue that many businesses have sought to fix, but now a 31-year-old inventor from Wales believes he has the answer. James Vice has created a self-cooling can that he says can bring the temperature of a drink down to 7 degrees Celsius in minutes. And now some of the biggest drinks companies in the world are after it. Well, let's speak to James, who joins me now. Very good morning to you, James. First of all, just give us a sense of how long it's taken you to get here, because I assume that lots of those big companies have spent years and years trying to come up with this idea. You seem to have beaten them to it. How did it all come about?
Yeah, so my background's been in the drinks industry, and as you explained clearly, there's always a pain point when drinking on the go, whether you're at a festival, it's a blazing hot day and your can goes warm. There's nothing worse.
I know,
so
believe me. I know.
Yeah, so, you know, we live in 2025, technology is never greater, so why not have a can that can cool itself? So I jumped in head first. And locked myself in a bedroom for about 2 years, and I was adamant to crack the code that has never been cracked before. And as of today, we have the world's first commercially viable self-cooling beverage can.
Now, I don't expect you, James, to give away all your secrets, but can you give us a demonstration of kind of how it works, if you like?
Yeah, so here it just looks like a traditional can, but actually there's a button underneath. And as you push the button, now keep your eye on this snowflake and you'll see the color of the snowflake start to turn. So actually you'll turn the can upside down, you'll hold down the button briefly. And then actually, as you're doing that, you'll start to feel the can going cold and you give it a little swirl. And there you see the snowflake starting to change color and the can is starting to cool. It's pretty instant. And we use very safe, non-toxic methods, and it's fully recyclable like you would a traditional can. And we're very excited here at Delta Innovations.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. And excited too about the prospect that lots of the world's beer companies and soft drinks companies and others must be saying, give us this technology.
You're absolutely right. And at the minute, we're speaking to some absolutely huge brands. We're still young. We're still got, there's a long way to go. And I'm very, very ambitious. I want this to become, dare I say it, the next Tetra Pak. And we should be proud here in the UK. We have an amazing amount of entrepreneurs here in the UK. And, you never know. My name's James. It could be the second coming of James Dyson.
And you talk there, don't you, James, about the UK. I mean, would you like to see, or would you like to give the technology to a UK-based company rather than some of the other big global brands that are not mentioned but we're all familiar with?
Yeah, so we would love this to hit the market in the UK first, for sure. And actually, this summer, we'll be doing some live consumer testing. We'll be piloting in various festivals around the UK. I'm very, very, I'm very pleased that, we've conquered something and we can be proud of it in the UK. Obviously, the long-term goal is to see this on an international scale. But yeah, I'm very proud of it.
You are very proud, James. And I suppose my final question to you is, what's next, having cracked the can? What else would you like to sort out for us all?
Yeah, I mean, we all deserve to drink cold drinks anywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. And actually, as an inventor, you crack one product and then you're already looking ahead at the future products that, and this is technology that can be used in other forms of drink packaging. So yeah, keep your eye on Delta Innovations because we're just getting started and we're going all the way. We are going to bring self-cooling cans to market.
And sorry, James, also just notice you're 31 years old, you're an inventor. I mean, what is the UK like for inventors? There's been a lot of criticism about how unproductive we are, about how uninventive in many ways we've become. And yet you've managed to kind of breach that wall, if you like. How have you done that? And what do you think about that overall picture where people say the UK just isn't at the cutting edge as it once was?
I think we should get behind all the inventors and entrepreneurs in the UK. You know, we have such an amazing amount of talent here we should be proud of. And, you know, my message to fellow other entrepreneurs and other inventors is dare to dream, you know, break down the impossible. That word isn't even in my vocabulary. Anything is possible. And, you know, who would say that a 31-year-old Welshman would have cracked something those billion-dollar companies couldn't? And we have.
James, it's great stuff and good luck with it all, and enjoy all those big companies fighting over you for that can. Thank you very much indeed. That's James Vise there joining us with his self-cooling can.
Thank you.
We're just going to bring you some breaking news coming in regards to Gaza, with UNICEF saying that 2 UN staff have been killed in Israeli strikes in Gaza. At the same time, the Palestine Health Ministry has said that 1 has been killed and 5 seriously injured among the foreign humanitarian staff working for the United Nations. But we also should note that the IDF is saying that they disagree with those reports. They're saying, contrary to the reports, the IDF did not strike that UN compound, and the IDF is calling on media outlets to act with caution regarding those unverified reports. So we're getting different stories emerging. The IDF saying that they did not strike that UN compound in Gaza yesterday. And we'll have more on that in the next hour here on Sky News. OK, that is it from me for the moment, though. We're back with Business Live at 4:30 this afternoon. Do join me then, if you can. Up next, it is Prime Minister's Question Time. We'll be live in the House of Commons as Keir Starmer takes on Kenny Badenoch. At PMQs, almost certainly Ukraine, and that phone call between President Trump and Vladimir Putin will feature. Also, certainly, I would say those welfare cuts announcements yesterday. That is with Jane Secker and Beth Rigby up next here on Sky News. Do stay tuned for that.